Hello out there, everyone in YouTube land. Welcome to the OK Good Review channel. Now today, guys, is the launch of a project I wanted to do for you guys for a long time, and it's going to take a number of forms, guys, so if you stick with this particular series, you'll see it evolve as I do more of them. But for now, guys, I have wanted to do a bunch of discussion videos, guys, because I've got some extensive libraries of just different things. DVDs, CDs, books, guys, and I thought it'd be really fun to just chat with you guys about those and just talk about it a little bit, guys. Maybe even turn you guys on to some cool stuff that you hadn't checked out before, you've heard. Sort of hand in hand a little bit with what we had hoped to do with the reaction series, guys. And that one is sort of on hiatus as I film this, guys, but I'm sure it'll be back at some point. So Kiss is on tour right now, guys, and it's their last tour. Probably they won't be doing another studio album, guys. It's been a few years since their last one. I think as I'm recording this, it's been about 7 years. And the last two studio albums, actually I think the last probably 3, maybe even the last 4, didn't perform spectacularly, guys, so I don't think they're motivated to do more of them. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to just go through some of my history with Kiss and also just a little bit about just some of these albums, guys. So for this project, I went through about 28 albums. And usually I'm inclined to skip songs. I didn't do that this time, guys. I listened to every second of every one of these CDs and cassettes, guys, that you see before you now. And I went through them all, guys, just to see how I would feel about them now, which is some time removed from when I obviously was younger, guys, in high school when I first came across the band, guys. And certainly the band has evolved. I think my tastes as a listener have also evolved, guys. And it was just kind of fun to check out some of the stuff. Some of it held up really well. And some of it, you notice I didn't say it all held up really well. Let me put it as diplomatically as possible, guys. I was prompted really to get into it by this book, guys. So this is Gene Ace, Peter and Paul, I guess is the actual title. From Julian Gill. I think this has something to do with KissFAQ.com, guys. And I thought, how are they going to get, I looked at the back of this. Kiss books always interest me, guys. They're always really fascinating reads to me. And I thought, okay, so how are they going to get to, in this one, it's over 500, so you can see there, 543, and there's some other pages here. How are they going to get over 500 pages, guys, for the solo records? And so buying this, it's a lot of interviews and stuff like that. It's a pretty cool book, guys. If you're interested in that, it's, even still, I wouldn't say it's totally exhaustive, but it's pretty well thorough, guys. So if you're interested in the solo albums, check that out. And I thought, oh, that's a really interesting idea to try to write a book. I would certainly never undertake it myself on those 4 records. And it kind of meanders a little bit, guys. There's discussions of other stuff as well. But one of the things in that book, probably like millions of other people, guys, my interest and love of the band really started to come to me through Double Platinum, the Double Platinum record. And that was when I started to understand what the big deal with Kiss was and why they were so special and so beloved by audiences worldwide for years and years and years and years. My first introduction to them was with Animalize, this record right here, guys. And I didn't hear a lot of this because the person who was playing this record would basically play the second and the third song, and that's about it. Over and over again, guys. And I thought one of the songs was okay, and the other one as a pop song was okay also, but they honestly struck me as a little bit crass. This is the other record that the guy played a lot. Look it up. And, of course, as might have been expected, the songs that were played over and over again were the two weakest songs, one of which is the title song, and the other is which is basically the lead for side 2 back when they had records. Two of the weakest songs, and of course that's what they did videos for, and I thought, again, just the band was crass and honestly was not particularly interesting. So, that was up until Double Platinum. And Double Platinum I don't have, obviously I have everything that's on it here. There are some slight remixes, but it's not worth for me getting again. I borrowed Double Platinum from a friend, guys, and myself and my brother were listening to it, and like our jaws were just falling. You know, they were like really, really strong songs, and the thing that they really had, guys, was the element of cool. So all the makeup years, a lot of those songs, even if they're not necessarily structurally strong songs, they have the element of cool. And that's really, I think, what honestly has driven a lot of, certainly Ace's career outside of the band as well, because he was just cool. That guy's probably sold more guitars than anybody in the history of music. We were very receptive. We liked him a lot, and we were like, okay, it's a really cool band. Until we got to this. Once we heard this, it was all over. This was really what kind of threw us in and said, okay, this is now kind of our band, quote unquote, you know, and this is kind of our guys now. And from there, it was a band that we just started to try to build the catalog. Probably me more so than him, because, you know, being a collector is definitely more, you know, I'm more tuned to that sort of thing than he is, certainly even now. But so I went back in time and I collected basically everything, and it was all coming on CD at the time. So we had a transition from LPs and cassettes to CDs, guys. So before I get into actually talking about the CDs, this first one is going to have a lot. It's basically going to be the first album, which you see in front of you guys right there. It will be the first record right here, guys, Through Alive, guys. So the first album, Through Alive, and there's the cover art right there, guys. And we'll check into that in a little bit. Before I get too far into this, though, guys, I do want to say I do have a lot of DVDs from Kiss. Those won't be included. Any of the members' albums outside of Kiss. So Ace Frehley had a number of albums outside of Kiss. Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons has released some as well. And I think Peter Criss might have also. Those will not be part of our discussion here. And most of the greatest hits packages, guys, I also don't have and don't really go through unless there's new songs. But the new songs have to be generally of interest, guys. And that will have some bearing, guys, as we get farther into this series. But for right now, so here's the first album, and you can see, check out the makeup on these. And you can see the makeup has evolved quite a bit over time, guys. And in fact, let's look, guys, at the makeup on, so this is Monster. This is the newest makeup. You can see Gene Simmons is quite a bit different. Paul Stanley's is almost identical. Peter Criss, the Catman, his is radically different, guys. Look at that. Look at the two cats. Crazy, crazy difference there, guys. Wow, that's the big one. Ace is generally fairly similar. Not a whole lot going on with Space Ace there, guys. So that makeup is still pretty. And of course, it's not Ace Frehley or Peter Criss. It's Eric Singer and Tommy Thayer on that record. So in here is just credits. So the early days back when there was a Casablanca logo there. Back when this was just sent over to DVDs, I think it was from Mercury. They didn't really do a lot of anything, guys. This is Polygram, actually. So they just did basically the music straight over. And so we're looking through this, guys. Black Diamond has a really interesting sort of almost a Led Zeppelin-ish bite to it, guys. Kiss was always meant to be a brand, of course, and you can see they right off the top went with this kind of kabuki manga type styling, guys, for their makeup as well, guys. Obviously, there is some heavily leaning towards Alice Cooper, guys. Somebody who honestly would play a fairly substantial part in their career, guys, over the course of time, though maybe not necessarily directly. So this record is really what started it all, and this is some of the songs are, like the Love Theme from Kiss is an instrumental, that's a little goofy, guys. We also have Kissin' Time, which was a cover. That is a little goofy as well. Running time on this was 35 minutes, guys. This was released in the front half of 1974. They had a follow-up to that, also in 1974, guys, which we'll get to here momentarily. What I think is interesting about this is you can clearly hear the band was trying to be super, super careful when they were playing a lot of this stuff. So that honestly kind of entertained me quite a bit. But these songs are kind of charming. I mean, it's interesting listening to, I think the album holds up pretty well. It's interesting listening to this record, guys, especially everything all right in a row, listening to where they started and then just kind of going along in progress. So I don't know that any of their performances I mean, it sounds like they're having fun on this album. I think that may be one of the other things too. When you can hear somebody audibly sounding like they're having fun, guys, I think your innate reaction is to also sort of feel like you're having fun and joining them. So here we get into the full kabuki, and the makeup, guys, as you can see, is dramatically changed. Even from here, see, we can look at Gene Simmons to Gene Simmons. Can we get them both in the frame? We can. And also Peter Criss and his makeup as well, guys. That really changed a lot. Some of these poses they came up with were a little goofy. In here is another one. This is just credits, guys. There's the back of the back of this. Got some kind of a racy picture there with Peter Criss and good times. The 70s. So this came out in the second half of 70s, guys. The Hotter Than Hell record. This glyph, I believe, is meant to mean power. Something along those lines, guys. So on this one, actually, too, one other thing I want to mention. So Cold Gin, Ace Frehley did not have any songs that he sang on this record. Although in Cold Gin, listening to Cold Gin and listening to what Ace Frehley actually did when he got in front of a microphone, it seems pretty clear that Gene Simmons is trying to do the most he can to sort of mimic what Ace Frehley's vocals would eventually be. And, of course, Gene Simmons changed his stylings a lot as well. So this one was like what happens a lot. You have a band that does a lot of rehearsing, a lot of polishing. Their first album is very, very strong. The second album comes along, and now they got to write all new stuff, right? And they've got to write all new stuff, and there's a little bit of a drop-off. There are definitely some filler songs, guys, on this record. The two songs that Peter Criss sings on here, guys, this is really when we started. So myself and my brother usually really intensely disliked the songs that Peter Criss was singing. And this is both of the songs he sings on here, which is Mainline and Strange Ways, guys, are his two big leads on here. Neither one of those two guys is a particularly strong song. The Stanley songs, guys, are all fairly strong on this record, guys, which was kind of what we saw over the course of time, guys, from the band, guys. A lot of them, Paul Stanley really caught a lot of the, in my view, definitive Kiss sound. I think he really latched onto that maybe more than any other single member. Of course, that will be something we'll be getting into in future videos. But on this album, too, you had a lot of really, really strong stuff from Paul Stanley. The songs from Ace Frehley were okay. Parasite was obviously an all-time classic. And some of the ones from Gene Simmons were not as good, I guess. Put it that way, guys. So then from there, we have those two both in 1974. This is another, it's about half an hour. It's, I think, 33 minutes or so. And then we go to Dress to Kill, guys. And let's see if we can figure out where that's hiding. Here it is. We have Dress to Kill. So this is a absurd album photo. I think it's supposed to be a sort of a sense of humor thing, especially with Gene Simmons. And I think Gene Simmons definitely has a lot of sense of humor that sometimes gets missed, I think. But yeah, that album cover. And then, of course, you have just the negative of it here. Again, there's no libretto here, just credits inside there. Nothing on the CD itself. And we have songs that are, this was about almost exactly half an hour. And so the first two discs, guys, were produced by Kenny Kerner and Richie Wise. This one was produced by Neil Bogart, who is one of the owners of Casablanca, and Kiss itself. And this is, honestly, guys, one of the weaker of the studio albums. Had not what happened to Kiss's career happened, guys, I think this would have been possibly one of the swan songs. It still had some really strong stuff, like Rock Bottom, for instance, is a phenomenal song, guys. It is just fantastic. But you have, for instance, Two Timer. Two Timer, before the first minute is up, guys, goes to a never-ending chorus and doesn't leave it. So it's just there, just there with Two Timer over and over again with the chorus. And it's, I mean, you can see it's almost 3-minute song. So there's one verse to Two Timer, guys, one verse. Two Timer, one verse. Room Service is kind of goofy. Outside of that, guys, this is not one of the stronger albums. This is honestly, I think, kind of in many ways loaded with filler. It's one of the albums I listen to probably the least of any of their back catalog, just because, you know, this is where our greatest hits comes in handy, because a lot of these songs don't appear on any greatest hits, guys. And finally, we have this. This is what broke the band big, guys. The label was almost gone. The band was possibly could have got signed somewhere else. I think they probably would have, but certainly they would have changed a lot, guys, off of such a dead album as this. The studio version, Rock and Roll All Night, guys, they get into the anthems, they get into these great sing-along choruses, and it sounds dead on that album, guys. It's a very poorly produced record. And so then they finally get Eddie Kramer on board, guys. Eddie Kramer, legendary producer. He takes this group of songs and just floors it, guys. You have this awesome drum solo in 100,000 Years, guys. You've got Ace Frehley's incredible solo, guys. Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons don't get one, but they don't really need one. But it was this, the live version of Rock and Roll All Night, guys, that really broke big on radio. Deservedly. It was a really strong song, had a lot of energy. They sound actually energized in here. There's some controversy over this, because they're saying, well, you know, they went to the studio and Eddie Kramer overdubbed everything, which is kind of hard to believe, because if you listen to this, guys, there are errors all over the place on this record. The LP is pretty cool. I think I actually have that somewhere. And some notes from the band, which are not really legible in the CD format. And some people, their poster here. This is obviously an arena that's packed with their fans. It looks a lot cooler on LP. And I actually have the LP somewhere, but it's packed away, guys. Sorry. maybe there'll be a part 6 of this series, guys. I meant it as a 5-part. Maybe there'll be a part 6 where I look at all the different members' solo careers, except for Peter Criss, because I'm not sitting through that. And I might look at LPs, guys. You never know. If this series does well enough, guys, maybe we'll do a part 6 to fill in all the other stuff we missed. But this sounded better, guys. A lot of the time, there's some almost indulgent stuff. Gene's vocals, which is kind of, I think, the hallmark of him live, are really kind of questionable in a lot of these. I think there probably are overdubs, and I think there's probably a lot of overdubs, but I don't think that they're consequential necessarily. The studio sweetening, you can hear it quite a bit on the live side of things, but the result is just phenomenal, guys. This really changed, I think, the face of not only Kiss, and it saved Casablanca Records, guys, but also this really set the tone for live records to come, guys. This thing right here became kind of the standard. And everything, I mean, the songs really are, I mean, they're a lot of fun to listen to, guys. This really captured well the actual charm that the band had, and a lot of the coolness factor as well. This, guys, I think is one of the few live records I would call a must, and I certainly don't regret having this at all. Usually I don't like live albums because I think they're just poor sounding versions of greatest hits. This one, however, guys, I would say is certainly worthwhile. And if you decide you're a Kiss fan, then you can kind of dig into some of this back catalog here of these other three that make up our first video. And you can decide if any of these are, you know, worth your dues, so to speak. All the really strong songs off the first three records are on this. So if you're only going to buy one, definitely get this one, guys. This one, I mean, we're all used to Kiss right now, but it's just amazing, guys. When you look back at this, you still kind of really catch a sense of history of the act. And if you've ever played in bands or done any music or anything like that, like, you really come to appreciate just what, like, the band actually achieved, guys. So there it is. There is the first, basically, 4 records of the band's career, guys. Back before Kiss became a brand, Smoke Pots and Effects and all that other kind of cool stuff, guys. Again, some of the very charming and very cool songs, guys, can be found on these 4. Many, if you're hearing them for the first time, they can be a lot of fun to listen to. Unfortunately, I don't think they bear total repeated listening as well as maybe some of the other ones do. Of these 2, my picks would be the one on the left, Alive, and the first Kiss record. If you decide you're super fan, then you can start looking into the other 2, the Hotter Than Hell and the Dress to Kill disc, which themselves, honestly, this one, the studio version of Rock Bottom, is easily the best song on here, and it's quite a bit different than the one that's on here. So that's I mean, that part is also really, really something striking if you really like that song. But again, you can maybe consider some of the greatest hits packages, which also include those. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up for part 1, and we will see you back here for part 2.